Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. This is a continuation of the previous Iceberg format, with a new theme surrounding secret societies. For background footage, I'll be using Battle for Bikini Bottom, and as is the usual, let me know what gameplay you would like to see instead, or any other themes you would like me to research. With that being said, this will be 3 topics at each level, with 4 levels for a total of 12 topics. You may have heard of the early topics, but I'll try to make them interesting by including new or lesser known information. With this being focused on secret societies, I will break it down into their history, their conspiracies, and their actions. Nearly all of these topics could have their own video, so let me know if you'd like to see me dive deeper. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Level 1. Freemasons. If you have ever watched Nicolas Cage steal the Declaration of Independence, you may have overheard a group known as the Freemasons. Many conspiracy theories float around about their influence on politics, connections to Satan, and other claims. But how did this organization start? Freemasonry is a brotherhood that traces its origins to the Guild of Stonemasons that had regulated these masons' interactions with authorities and clients. The Freemasons evolved from these guilds and had adopted the ideas of the Age of Enlightenment, which is defined by its scientific, political, and philosophical discourse. The first Grand Lodge, or governing body, of the Freemasons was founded in London in 1717. It had spread over time, and early US politics had numerous members, with 13 of the 39 signatures of the Constitution being Masons. Now, there are over 6 million Freemasons in over 100 countries. Even in the 18th century, there was whispers and accusations of the organization. The biggest instance in the US was in 1826, where a man named William Morgan, who said that he had infiltrated the group and had written an expose to bring their practices to light. This release was teased, revealing ceremonies and rituals not known to the public. With the publishing date in sight, many chapters of the Masons had begun a campaign to silence Morgan, and soon trumped charges by police loyal to the Masons put him in prison. The print shop he had worked at was also damaged by a small fire during this time. During his arrest, he was bailed out by a group of Masons and was never seen again. This story was passed around so much that once prolific Freemasons were unable to expand, and was probably the scandal that led to them being in so many conspiracy theories. Another interesting read is what Pope Leo XIII had to say about the Freemasons in 1884. The Humanum Genus was a letter written by the Pope condemning all Freemasons and continuing an excommunication on them, which started in 1738 and continues to the present day. The reasons for such were that the Freemasons believed men to be sovereign over God, equality of religion, separation of church and state, and a few other things. It's an interesting read for those with an interest in Freemasonry, and I would recommend you take a look for yourself. In the modern day, conspiracies push towards them still holding and using political power to get whatever mysterious goals they have. And while I don't have any evidence of that to show you, I do have their current public goals and ideals. The criteria for joining now is to be a man, have a good character, and believe in a higher power. There's a sisterhood as well for those women interested. Anyone can contact their local lodge and ask for an invite, as you will not be invited as a rule. When inside, you are unable to talk about religion or politics while in the lodge, and ceremony and rituals are still being held. What is said within these lodges are secret, but of the public actions, charity is a big one, with $2 million being spent towards it every day. They also have a focus on uniting cultures and religions. If you'd like to learn more about them, feel free to join and leak the secrets to the rest of us so we can have some more info. Illuminati. The Illuminati are at the forefront of most conspiracy theories. From the dollar bill to the world government, many claims have been made against the Illuminati, but where did it all start? The Illuminati was founded on May 1st, 1776, in present-day Bavaria, by a man named Adam Weishaupt. They formed as an offshoot of the Freemasons, with Weishaupt saying illuminated Freemasonry was the only pure Masonic order. They also held beliefs from the Enlightenment period, with the name itself being based off of Illuminism, or personal enlightenment not accessible to humankind in general. Their goals were to oppose superstition, secrecy of facts, religious influence over public life, and corruption within states' power. This caused them to be outlawed by the Bavarian government in 1785, while the Catholic Church was against them as well for the same reason as the Freemasons. The society eventually fell due to internal dissent and gradual decline, with other groups taking the reins. However, the ideals they held were still talked about in secrecy, and it's believed these ideals were the inspiration for the French Revolution and other political upheavals. I personally find it funny how many people consider this group to be the one pulling the shots, while it initially was intended to bring down power structures and had anarchistic tendencies. While it may be old news now, many a conspiracy nerd started off from this society here, and nearly every conspiracy under the sun can be attributed to them in some way. I'll skip some of the common ones like the pyramids and such, and head for one of the realer theories. This theory revolves around the election of Thomas Jefferson and how it was spread that the Illuminati helped him to win. A man named Augustin Barrel in 1797 was looking into the French Revolution and how quickly France descended into madness, and the only blame he could find were the Illuminati. He believed there was a network of people spreading anti-monarchic and anti-religious works that had infected the brains of his countrymen. This had to be a carefully planned political maneuver to destroy the aristocratic framework of France. While the named Illuminati organization was crumbling, many people looked towards their own groups, such as Freemasons, scared of corruption. America specifically was worried as this was a mere decade after the Constitution was signed, and they did not want any more foreign interferences. Many of the anti-Illuminati numbers were in the Federalist and Calvinist groups, believing separation of church and state to be wrong, and they pinned all their hopes on John Adams. His opponent, Thomas Jefferson, was seen as an atheist at worst and a deist at best, who famously stated the resurrection and miracles were fables in mythology. He also had a positive outlook on France's revolution, which was a possible inlet for corruption in their minds. This fear-mongering would later turn on them, as a man named John Ogden would accuse members of the clergy of being secretly subverting the youth to form an anti-democratic social hierarchy. While it's unsure to say this caused Thomas Jefferson to win, it certainly helped his election, and he did end up winning office. With the story wrapped up, we can jump into the modern day. There are a few organizations that label themselves Illuminati, with some even claiming to be descended from the original. Ordo Templi Orientis is one which we will be discussing later in this video. With that being said, most of these claims appear to be a way to attract membership, and as such, I will leave current day actions to the wayside for now. Let me know if you would like a full video about them, because they have a unique history. Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, Order 322, or the Brotherhood of Death, is the oldest Yale College secret student society. Considering the power of the graduates and the institution at large, it's not hard to see what stories might come up with for this group, but let's learn a bit more about the history. Skull and Bones initially formed after an argument among three societies over an award given out by Phi Beta Kappa. William Russell and Alphonso Taft had co-founded the order together in 1832, along with 12 other members. Since 1879, 15 new members are chosen amongst junior students by being tapped during Tap Day. Apart from this, they have their own hall known as the Tomb within Yale, along with an island they use as a retreat. What makes this particular group interesting, however, are its lists of alumni: U.S. President William Taft, Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, President George Bush Sr. and Jr., and Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwarzman, to name a few. So how did all these powerful people end up together? Conspiracies state that this organization of elite-minded individuals pooled their collective brainpower into changing the world. One interesting conspiracy theory revolving around this group is actually about George Bush Jr. and his Democratic opponent, John Kerry. During the race, they were both close, but George Bush obviously ended up winning the total votes. What makes this particularly interesting is that not only was George Bush a part of the Skull and Bones Society, but John Kerry was also a member. Some felt that John Kerry threw in the towel early and handed the victory to Bush Jr., which may have been an under-the-table deal as they knew each other well. However, with all the conspiracy theories, this is just speculation. Apart from this conspiracy, this group's outward actions are a bit hidden. Supposedly, on July 12, 2016, a Freedom of Information Act had released around 1,600 documents. However, I personally cannot find them. With all this being said, long-form info on this group is hard to find, so feel free to research and find your own information about this society if you'd like. Level 2. Knights Templar. Knights Templar are everyone's favorite set of knights. From video games, movies, books, TV, you'd be surprised how many things are based off of them. Warhammer 40k's Black Templar come to mind. So what makes them so interesting to the general public? The Knights Templar were a Catholic military order founded in Jerusalem in 1119. They had originally formed to protect pilgrims to the site, but quickly became a wealthy and powerful organization. The main thing they are known for are their strict adherence to faith and their tenets to poverty, chastity, and obedience. When the Holy Land was lost to Muslims, they began to decline as an organization and were brought down further due to accusations of corruption and heresy. In 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered them all arrested and tortured until they confessed, and when they did, he had many burned at the stake. The order was officially disbanded 5 years later. Despite all of the above, the Templars have been mythologized by Western civilization through media and legend. Some fun conspiracies were that the Templars had found the Holy Grail, or that they uncovered Jesus Christ had actually had children with Mary Magdalene. As for the more negative conspiracies, they come down to the normal inquisitorial charges: stomping, spitting, and urinating on crosses, devil worship, and sodomy, oddly enough. These were all actually admitted to by some Templars, as they had believed mock torture to be helpful in hardening their resolve, and okay because they committed apostasy with their head, not their heart. One charge that was not normal, however, was head worship, or worshipping a decapitated head. Most details are contradictory, but it may be linked to magical head folklore, or the belief that Muslims worshipped idols. As for the modern day, there are no explicit actions by this group, as it is no longer around. However, as is the usual, some believe the group is descended from the original, while others use the Knights Templar as a guide for their own actions. Stay tuned on the upcoming layers, as I have a real fun connection to make with the Templars at the bottom. Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group, or Meeting, is an annual conference between North America and Europe, with guest appearances from the world's most important people. For those more modern-minded, Bilderberg and the World Economic Forum are the real Illuminati. So, what about this group makes it so unusual? The group itself started its first meetings in 1954, at the Hotel de Bilderberg in the Netherlands. At the time, 79 delegates came from 11 countries, and now around 130 leaders and experts from different fields are invited. What makes this specifically interesting is the Chatham House Rule, which states that any information heard can be used, but no names or identifiers can be used. This is supposed to allow for more open dialogue, and helps to not create out-of-context quotes. This rule also creates a bit of secrecy to the outside, along with a small amount of media representation of the meeting as well. However, even with this blackout, leaks and documentation do come out. One former Naval Intelligence Team member, Bill Cooper, details some of his personal findings in the book Behold a Pale Horse in 1991. One of his takes was that the group itself had been formed as a way to keep the world in the loop on a developing alien problem, as said by President Sherman. Since then, he states it had developed into a world government, with the World Economic Forum being the face. Regardless, the book is quite an interesting read if you have any interest in modern conspiracies. As for my take on their modern actions, I don't have an invite, so I can't tell you what actually goes on. What I can say is that there is a list of topics on their website, as well as history and guests, should you be interested. Take a peek online or read the book for more information. Thule Society. The Thule Society was a German occultist group founded in Munich, shortly after World War I. The name Thule was in reference to a mythological northern country in Greek legends. The Thule Society had sponsored the DAP, or German Workers' Party, which had later reorganized to the NSDAP, or Nazi Party. This part is most likely the inspiration for Indiana Jones' depiction of Nazis. However, the reality, as usual, is a bit different. The Thule Society was founded in 1917 by Walter Neuhaus, a World War I veteran turned art student from Berlin, who had kept lineage documents for a separate occultist group, the Order of Teutons. The Thule Society was originally a branch of this separate order, but a schism happened within the group, causing the Thule Society to break away. In 1918, it was taken over by Rudolf von Sebottendorf, whom transformed it into a leader of the National Fascism movement. The group itself contained several backgrounds from World War I veterans, race supremacists, and occultists, with the joint belief of the superiority of the Aryan race and hatred towards minorities. As said above, the society had sponsored the DAP, and even Hitler had joined for a time, and helped him to spread his ideals. Many theories revolve around this order, believing they had helped create German UFOs, or were tasked with finding occult means to win the war. Quite a lot of resources were actually spent trying to find different mythological items believed to help shape history, with the Spear of Destiny specifically being remade as a replica for Heinrich Himmler. As for the party itself, it did officially dissolve in 1923, but some believe that the members who researched the occult continued within the National Socialist Party, and were later acquired by other governments after the war from Operation Paperclip, where the US saved those in the National Socialist Party in return for their works and support. As for the society now, as said above, it was officially disbanded in 1923, but one of its actions was attempting to find the origins of the Aryan race, along with combating minorities in the media, along with infiltration of government and other parties hostile to their ideals. The party did have some influence on shaping the National Socialism Party, but how much is unknown. Level 3. Golden Dawn. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was an esoteric order for initiates in London of 1888. The group had a heavy influence in Western esotericism and Hermeticism, and its teachings continue to live within a variety of other traditions. The group was founded by three prominent occultists, William Westcott, Samuel Mathers, and Kenneth Mackenzie. Each of these three had a hand in shaping this order. Westcott, a Freemason, claimed to receive letters from an Adeptus Minor whom revealed the secrets of the Golden Dawn. Mathers was a scholar of the Jewish Kabbalah and helped to develop their system of magical training. And lastly, Mackenzie was a Scottish historian and folklorist, and helped contribute to the rituals and myths. This order had drawn from many sources, like Egyptian myth, Western astrology, and Kabbalah, and they had divided their magic system into 3 grades. Each grade had its own set of rituals, symbols, and teachings. The Golden Dawn was, however, rather controversial. Some believed it to be a front for satanic worship or black magic. Others claimed its teachings led to schizophrenia. However, it also attracted many other members whom became large in their own right, including W.B. Yeats and Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley being an absolutely huge name in this circle, and I could make a series on him alone. The Golden Dawn did, however, help to create nearly every Western avenue of occultism, with its teachings being incorporated into Wicca, chaos magic, and Thelema, with Thelema being the reason this entry will be a bit short. As for the modern day, while no order from the original survived past the 70s, many groups follow its teachings, and it has influenced many different types of modern magical teachings. Rosicrucians. Rosicrucianism is a spiritual and cultural European movement in the 17th century after texts announced a secret esoteric order. These 2 manifestos anonymously appeared in Germany around 1614 and were soon translated and published. The first manuscript, known as the Fame of the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross, shows the travels to the east of the alleged founder of the order. It states that Christian Rosenkreutz went on to learn magical secrets and medical knowledge, and on return, founded an order in secret. This order had a strong focus on the occult, with ESP, clairvoyance, and hidden knowledge of death being key points. The difference between this and mainline Christianity is that Jesus was human and did not die or ascend to heaven, but instead retired to a monastery to carry about secret missions with the apostles. They also don't believe in salvation in belief of God. Instead, it is based on self-effort. They also don't hold the Bible in high regard, nor believe it was divinely authored. Many were drawn to the promise of knowledge and enlightenment. However, their activities were never revealed, and in the 18th century it began to decline, with a revival in the 19th century. Many conspiracies surround this group, but the main one is that if it even existed at all. Few lodges were made, and the group's focus was one of the Brotherhood of Secret Alchemists who would transform the world. And the other conspiracy is, given it was the 17th century and change did happen, how much of that can be attributed to them? People have followed the writing of the Rosicrucians, and it is a belief, but it exists in a limbo state of doing nothing or something, with no real context for what they did accomplish. As for the modern day, many groups currently exist following the stories and teachings, but it has mainly been divided into three groups: Masonic Rosicrucians, esoteric Christians, and initiatory groups. These groups are all well and good into today, so if you're interested, feel free to reach out to one of those three groups. Opus Dei. The Opus Dei is a Spanish-founded Catholic branch that works directly under the Pope. This group was founded in 1928 by José María Escrivá de Balaguer. He is said to have experienced a vision of Opus Dei, which translates to work of God, and since then has made it his mission to spread his message. The group's message states that you should be living your life with holiness and evangelization, with the Opus Dei providing ways to put that into practice. This focus on God in daily life and working is also meant to help social progress in your personal path to holiness. The Opus Dei do not have monks or nuns, and few priests are meant to help bridge professional, personal, and spiritual life. Many critics resent this message, with some believing this heavy-handed mix of personal freedoms and religious observance make this a cult, while others dislike the secrecy of its members and ties to right-wing politics. In 2005, it had its first sexual abuse case, and in 2022, it was decreed a reform of the Opus Dei was necessary to remove it from under the Pope. For conspiracies, Opus Dei is believed to heavily influence Spain's economy, especially since its members are so productive and are believed to hold more money than the average citizen. Regardless of whether you believe the accusations against them is up to you, however, this group has held on till the public day and continues to gain membership, with 95,000 members of mixed priests and laymen. Level 4. Thelema. And here comes Aleister Crowley barreling in. Thelema was founded by Crowley in 1904, claiming to have received the teachings of the group from a being known as Aiwass during a trip to Cairo, Egypt. It is said to be based off the Book of Law, a text that was dictated to Crowley from Aiwass, while the name Thelema means will in Greek. Through Crowley's cult of personality, it was quickly spread throughout the occult community, and it has had an enormous influence on the rise of modern paganism and New Age spirituality. Thelema was also taken up by other celebrities, namely Marilyn Manson and David Bowie. The book under which Thelema operates is the Liber al Vel Legis, which has three phrases that best describe the group, where the first statement is considered the law. Do what thou will shall be the whole of the law. Every man and every woman is a star, and love is the law, love under will. This is extremely similar to a sermon given by Augustine of Hippo, who said a similar phrase: love and what thou wilt do. In Thelema, there exists a true will, which is different from normal wants and desires. A true will is your calling, and do what you will refers not to hedonicism, but discovering your path. This attempt to find your calling is known as the Great Work. These ideas sort of get thrown out the window, however, due to Crowley's personal life. To say he did some incredibly weird things, even by modern times, is an understatement. He was a bit of a nonconformist, challenging everything anyone held dear, which got him in hot water, along with his drug use, experimentation, and sex parties, some of which may not have been consensual. His confessions and memoirs are rife with less than ideal behavior, and it made rallying behind this figure not particularly great. I'd love to go into Crowley deeper, as he is right beside H.P. Lovecraft for characters that have some weird history, so if that's something you'd like to hear, let me know. As for Thelema, there are people today still following, and while a bit more difficult to find, if you're interested, you can read about it or do some research for yourself and see how it affects you. Templi Orientis. The Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO, was a secret society founded in Germany in 1895 with the goal of reuniting all men in the bonds of brotherhood and restoring knowledge and practice of the mysteries. Founded by Karl Kellner, a Freemason and Golden Dawn member, Theodor Russ, a German occultist and Rosicrucian, and Heinrich Klein, a businessman and member of a separate ordo. It was originally founded as a Masonic order. However, it broke away and evolved into a separate group, based on a variety of teachings designed to help achieve spiritual enlightenment. Aleister Crowley was admitted in 1910 as well, and took control of the British and Irish chapter, in which he rewrote and added to the temple. After Crowley's death, a man named Germer had attempted to keep it running, passing the European charter from person to person until his death in 1962, where he did not name a successor. From there, the group has had several leaders, but there was a gradual decline of membership. As for the conspiracies and actions, the group has the usual claims of being a cult, Satan worship, etc. Another issue is the legitimacy of the group, given there was no heir, causing a few schisms from within and without, and court cases even being filed. The actions of this group are interesting, with initiation ceremonies at each degree with oaths being said, and governing bodies to look over each chapter. Reading through the hierarchy, it's quite impressive how much actually exists. Again, if you find yourself interested, reading material is a little bit limited, but info exists on Gerald Gardner, a man whom helped the temple, along with their own website. OSMTH. This one's going to be a bit long-winded. The Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem, hereon known as OSMTH, is supposedly the continuation of the Templars. Originally made public in 1705 by Philip II, and officially refounded in 1804 by two French Freemasons. It has a headquarters in Geneva and has chapters in over 40 countries. They appear to make the claim of being a continuation by following the same spiritual path as the original order. The OSMTH is a non-profit humanitarian organization that promotes Christian values and charitable causes. Their main claim to fame being the continuation part, which is heavily criticized as a recruiting tool or possibly as a scam. There really is not much to say about the group apart from their interest in promoting unity and peace, them being registered and recognized by the United Nations, and their humanitarian efforts. Sorry for this topic being a bit brief, but there really isn't a lot to say apart from this, and a brief history of their efforts being recognized. They have their own website, so if you're interested, please feel free to visit. And that's the end of this video. I hope this helped to provide some context for these groups and how easy it is to join most of them nowadays, and to demystify what they do. I didn't intend to make this a recruitment video or anything of the sort. However, writing outros for each of the individual topics was a little difficult for me. I would also like to say I think this helps show how many Freemasons really like to start groups, considering how many in this list are started by Freemasons. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoy. Feel free to comment, subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like to see changed in future videos, or other new topics. Have a nice one, and take care.